Hello, my name is Lisa Campi-Sapri and you are watching the Fencing Referee YouTube channel. I can be found at thefencingref.com. That's the easiest way to get to my Facebook page, The Fencing Referee. And make sure you subscribe because I can do better things with YouTube if you subscribe. So today's module is going to be about, well, I call it Rulebook 101. 101 in the States is like the most basic, kind of like college class, like Psychology 101. So Rulebook 101 is going to be the basics of what our rulebook in fencing is about. Now, recently I was coaching a camp, and on the fly I had to kind of do a presentation of fencing, refereeing, and the rules. And I stood up and I said to the camp, if you want to open up the rule book and find everything conveniently located in the right place and you can just find it with ease, well then don't look in our rule books. Because the rule book is not exactly easy in that everything's in the same spot. And that's okay, because part of reading the rule book is going to help you understand how to find things. Now, I've read 3 different rule books, more or less cover to cover. The US one, there's only a little bit difference for the British rule book, which is considered the FIE English version, and then I've read some in the French, a lot in the French. And in fact, if there's a rule discrepancy at an international tournament and they're not sure about the rule, the final word is actually the French rule book, which might be something you didn't know until this second. So the US, they tend to divide it into 3 different sort of books: technical, organizational, and material, whereas the FIE version has got it all in one spot. So I'm going to say that there is a technical section, an organization section, and a material section. And they are all referring to different parts. Then, of course, within there, there's a general section for stuff that happens in all 3 weapons. And then there's weapon specific, foil, épée, saber, right? Now, when you're looking at the rule book, you've got reference. If you want to reference a rule, you reference it via the letter. So a T, okay, is for the technical section. And then you have a number, and then you often have a dot or a period. So say I've got some rules written down behind the camera, magic of video. T44.5, which is the extra weapon rule. So T44.5 is the extra weapon rule, meaning that you need to have it. Now, if that isn't confusing enough, you then can add a letter to it. So M29.2C, that's where the rule about the alligator or the crocodile clip, whatever you call that, the lame clip, has to be on the same side as the weapon arm. And that's so that people can't like pull it off and go, ooh, oops, as they riposte. So that has got a letter, so an M rule, that's part of the material rules, 29.2 or 29.2 C, because that helps you understand where that is. And that's, yes, it gets a little confusing. Now, if you're hoping that reading the rule book will give you greater illumination into priority, greater illumination into understanding things like passing, then you will be disappointed. If you've ever read the rule book for anything, a card game, I had to read part of the badminton rule book when I was in college for a coaching class. It really doesn't tell you how to play it, but it does tell you about the things that kind of go wrong or how people could cheat or work the rules. When I head referee, I tell my referees at the very end of my reffing spiel, the rules and Lisa are here to protect you. And really, as a referee, the rules do have rules around protecting the referees, but really the rules are about protecting the fairness, making it equal and fair for both fencers. And that's really why we as referees should know the rule book, or at the very least be able to look up stuff in the rule book. That's really important. Yeah, there are specific sections for foil, épée, and saber, but really there are rules that are pervasive for all of the weapons. Now, my most recent journey with reading the rule book and studying the rule book was for tests I was taking. And as I'm studying it, I realized like I've been saying this whole time, I couldn't find what I was looking for. I was looking for a specific rule. So I created a tab. I did a 3-ring binder notebook that is labeled wow. So that's where that rule is. And that's actually what the tab is called, because I found team rules in the O section and in the T section. I found the video rules are in the T section as well, which is interesting. I might think that they maybe intuitively would be in the organization section, but no, they're in the technical section. And so it really is a librarian's nightmare. Now, one of the reasons it's evolving and changing, and that's a really good thing that it's evolving and changing, is in recent history, and I'll call it recent history because I've been fencing along a little bit. In '88 is when Electric Saber came into being. So of course they have had new innovations in the sport, and they've had to add stuff to the rules. It doesn't make it easy to read, but it's important to have it in there. I also have favorite rules. Let's just say I want the lefty on the left, for example. I know that throwing a weapon as like a way to create a touch, boop, is against the rules. The rules give you great information about where to place people on the strip. There's even rules about paying attention. I wrote them down. Let me see. T91 is about paying attention, moving with the action. All those lazy referees who don't move with the action. It's in the rules in T35. I'm looking at you. Parry, sorry my fellow foil people that love foil, parries have always been defined in the general section. It's not even in the double digits section. T72, not even double digits. It's always been defined in the general section because it's one of those things that happens in all 3 weapons. Another weird placement, I think, and it's a little confusing to me, is non-combativity is in the etiquette part of our rule book. Whew. Now, think about your weapon that you fence. And also, maybe think about all 3. There are definitely rules that are all 3. Core, stops, and action, done. There are other things that are stepping off the side of the strip. That's an all 3 one. But there are ones that are very weapon specific. Parry with the back arm in foil and epee is a red card. In saber, it just hurts, right? So there are things in the rules that you're going to read and you're going to be like, oh, so that's where that is. Now, there's a part of the rule book called the publicity code, which is an excellent cure for insomnia. It is, I'm not trying to diminish its importance. It is really important. It's things like if a manufacturer mark is too large, then it becomes an ad. And that makes sense because otherwise the manufacturers would make their marks bigger and bigger and bigger, and then it would be ridiculous. So they're very valid rules, but it is in a very dry, technical kind of terminology, and it's really good if you're having trouble sleeping. These are important rules, especially if you're going to go referee internationally. Those are really things that you might apply then. What have I forgotten from college that I now don't remember because I know the difference between a mark and an ad? Anyway, I'm going to give you homework. You're going to read the rule book at some point, and then you're going to read the rule book again, not just your section. Read the whole rule book, top to bottom. And then you're going to read it again. Because the rules are something that when you're refereeing, and I find as somebody who does head refereeing, some of the tournaments I have are like 500 people tournaments on 30 strips in one day, exciting stuff. And sometimes I have to say, I'm sorry, we can't do that. It's very clear in the rule books that, ... right? The rule books are there to make it fair and equal for both fencers. So Rule Book 101 took a little less than 10 minutes. And it's something that's important for every referee, for every fencer. They should know the rules. Sometimes it's a little scary to referee those fencers who know the rules really well, right? Now, your homework, because we're going to be covering it at some point, is the penalty chart. I'm holding up my penalty chart right here. Let's go that way. The penalty chart, play Vanna a little bit, too, is something that could be a great start for you. Look at the little markations that tell you where they are, then look up the rule. I recently looked at all of the first group warnings, and I have indeed given every first group warning at some point in my refereeing career. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but every single one I've given. So hopefully you haven't done that yet. Hopefully that's for another module. We're going to go over that at some point. But the rules are there to protect you as the referee and to protect the fencers, to make it equal for both. I hope I didn't put you to sleep with the Rulebook 101, and I hope that you are studying and working hard on becoming a better referee. Don't forget to subscribe, and don't forget I can also be found at thefencingref.com. Thank you so much for trying to make yourself a better referee. You do this, our sport gets better. And let's face it, our sport's awesome. Thank you so much.